Very good afternoon to everybody. So this is object-oriented programming. We will discuss about the arrays of object, about the string, and then we discuss about std function, which is the string C++ class that we would be dealing with the object-oriented programming. So this is especially for you, my dear students and young researchers, and you can reach me at dr.christoananth@gmail.com. So before beginning the session, I'm not forgetting my God anytime. So you don't forget the God anytime. Okay. So as for me, I thank God for giving me this golden opportunity to deliver this useful session to share my knowledge among my fellow national, international participants, students, and young researchers. So this is what we are going to discuss in today's class. We discuss about the arrays of objects and how you declare the arrays of objects and how you manipulate the objects in an array. Then we will have one example, a C++ program for storing the data about one employee. Okay, so it may be related to his or her own name, the employee data associated with it. So everything we are going to store it. Maybe we'll find out how it applies to an array, and then we write a C++ program to implement this manipulating object array approach, and then we have some advantages of array of objects, and then we have like a std string class. That's a topic in C++. We discuss about the string array in C++, about the various character arrays we discuss, and about the capacitive functions and how you try to end the manipulating functions. Of course, I have already discussed the open-ended project work in the Google Classroom, so please complete them at your best available time. And of course, we have at regular intervals some short videos to explain the knowledge in our topics. So we'll discuss about arrays of objects. Here the elements will be of same class, not of different class, and they can be declared just as an array as in our previous examples. So here each element of an array would be something like the object of the class. Definitely we can declare them just like declaring the array of objects. So what you do, you have to create an array of frame objects, and then you have to go with frame window list of 5. Okay, so with this declaration, we cannot give like different features. So it is generally required for each of the objects in an array, you specify a declaration with a different sets of constructor values. Okay, so since in this argument, like we have frame window list of 5, it's just specifying a window list, okay, with like 5 frame objects. But still, constructor arguments, you remember we took a class on constructors and destructors. So constructors was not given. Okay, so since it does not contain constructor, but definitely constructors are generally required in object oriented programming. Okay, so what you do, you try to include this constructors and make sure the arrays can be declared in the generalized format with some individual objects also. Okay, so the arrays, the individual objects as well as the constructors gives the complete meaning. Okay, so the user can be asked to supply the name of the file which contains desired locations and shapes for these objects even. So whenever you give this particular format, generally it becomes easy for the programmer to code. Definitely it can be resized accordingly also. So this is what you are going to do. This is similar to that previous case, like we had frame window list of 5, just that's it. So this one, it's more explicitly defined. Frame window list of 5 equal to frame window 0. You are specifying something 0, 100, 100, 100. Similarly, frame window 1, frame window 2, frame window 3, frame window 4. So you are explicitly defining a window list. Here there is individual object window 0, window 1, window 2, window 3, window 4, and for each of them you specify 0, 100, 100. Similarly 25, 50, 75, 100. Okay, we are specifying for each of the thing. Generally we will have very easy programming as well. You can very easily initialize the objects in an array also. Okay, so it's not needed that you have to specify all the constructor arguments, but at least minimum level you have to specify the constructor arguments. So sometimes what happens is, if you are introducing too much of constructors, definitely it can be overloaded as well, and definitely it's not easy for a third party reader to generally understand the logic. Okay, so the object in an array can be constructed using any of the constructors. Generally it can have the name as well as the location. Even the shape can be resized also. For example, frame window list of I equal to frame window of 0, like 0 and 100, just two you can use it them. Window 1, 25, 100, 50, 100, 75, 100 and 100, 100. So there is an example of overloaded constructor. For example, in the window list of I, frame window 0, here you are specifying different sizes. For example, window 0, you have 4, 0, 100, 100, 100. Window 1, only 2, 25, 100. Window 2, no sizes. Yes. Frame, no window specification. But window 4, it has 4. Okay, so this is an example of a overloaded constructor. Definitely, it will actually will find you the shape of that particular object.
We choose as an object frame, yes.
Object frame for each individual objects we specify it as a object frame. Okay, and you have to have at least minimum constructors also. Only then it gives a complete shape. So this is how you try to manipulate the objects in an array. So you can use a square brace, just like in the case of an array, to select which object of the array that needs to be manipulated, and then you have a dot operator to apply the operation to the selected object. So you have window list of 3 dot move to 100, 50. So here you actually manipulate the third part, okay, and then you move to 100, 50. So this actually moves to an individual object with maybe the location, maybe the subscript 3 to a new position. Okay, that's a new position is 100, 50. Okay, so remember, for each of the array that you specify, the subscript or the location, it starts from 0, not from 1. Yeah. Okay, and one of the advantages is that it's very easy to program the same operation. So a single loop will definitely shrink all the windows by 10%. So that's a basic criteria they have. So for int I equal to 0, I plus plus, I less than 5, and then here window list of I, that you are trying to dot means, which means there is some operation, that is resizing to 0.9. okay, so the more complex operations are also possible. Okay, maybe you can have like loop operations as well, from maybe from upper left to lower right you can move. Okay, so that also you can do so. So for int I equal to 0, I plus plus, I less than 5, window list I dot move to 10 multiplied by I plus 1, 10 multiplied by I plus 1, window list of I dot resize 50, 50. Okay, so this is how you are trying to move from one part to another part, from right to left or maybe from left to right. So this is an array of object in C++, where you collect data of different data types, maybe as a integer or maybe floating point or maybe double floating point. Also you can receive data types also. Even you can work with structures and pointers as also. So just like in the case of this example, here they have taken only integers. Okay, so it's a random integer 34, 67, 78, 32, 78, 98, 89, and similarly the array indices is starting from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these are full integers that we are talking about. So similarly you can have floating point also, you can have double also with the case of types. Okay, so whenever the class is defined, the specification of that object is particularly defined, and no special space, no particular memory is being allocated for creating the objects. So here with the array of objects you have a syntax, you have class name and then space object name, and then you have the number of objects. So here the array of object is going to store the object, okay, and an array of class type you call it to be the array of objects. Okay, so the array of objects is going to store the objects, and the array of the particular class type, you call that individual object as a array of objects. Okay, so this is our example I told you when we discussed at a glance. Okay, so this is storing about data of the employee data, storing employee data. So this is about storing more than one employee data, because normally we tend to have maybe 100 employees in a particular organization. Okay, so we tend to store more than one data. So let us assume maybe the company has 50 people. Okay, so there is an array of objects for storing employee data. Maybe you can have an variable emp employee of 50. Okay, so this is how you tend to do that. Okay, so you have objects. Okay, objects, it has then employee id, we will be having an id card, and then employee name. Okay, so this location we would be storing it as employee 0, employee 1, employee 2, and employee 3. Okay, so this is actually a C++ program where you tend to store data for more than one employee. Okay, right. So this is how you try to implement it. Okay, so hash include IO stream using namespace std function. Okay, and then class employee int d character name of 30. Maybe let us take in the case the size is actually 30, then you go for 30. Then public case, it is void get data, the declaration of function, and void put data, the declaration of function. You are getting the data and then you are printing the result. Okay, and then that's it. So you have void employee get data. So you enter the id. Okay, or the id of the employer. Similarly, you input the id also. Okay, and similarly you get the name. I mean, you get it and then you print the name also. And then you have void employee put data, see out the id, the name, and then you terminate the function. Then you have a driver code for the in main function employee emp. Okay, and then emp dot get data, emp dot put data. So you get the function and then you print the function. Okay, so here in the above example, a class name emp employee with id and name is being considered. Okay, so here we had like two functions, get data and put data. Get data means it is going to get the user input like employee id as well as name, and put data, it is going to print it on the screen, console screen. So this is all about implementing this particular approach. So you have like class employee int id, character name of 30, public case you void get data and then void put data. Now that's one question. To add more than one employee, we tend to use this one, void employee get data, see out enter id, you get the id, and then you enter the name, you input the name, and you define the function outside the class, which is void employee put data, it is id name, and then you terminate the function. You have a driver code employee m30 int I comma n. Okay, so see out enter the number of employees, is actually n. Okay, and then you have a function, you have a code for accessing the function, it is for I equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus. Here you tend to get the data employee I dot get data and then see out employee data. Okay, and then for I equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus, employee I dot put data. So whatever you are getting, you try to get it, you have a for loop for doing the operations, and then you print the operation. So you have the output, in the output screen it shows enter the number of employees. Like for example, if we enter 5, then it will show enter id, enter name, enter id, enter name, like for 5 times it shows, and then it will put print the result. Okay, 101 Mahesh, 102 maybe Donior, okay, 103 anybody. Okay, right. So afterwards it shows process exited after 24.74 seconds with return value 0. Press any key to continue. So this is how you print the employee detail with the employee ID as well as name. And there are several advantages of this array of objects. So here you have employee emp of 30. Okay, which means that the limit is 30. Whenever you have emp of 50, the limit is 50. Okay, so maybe here we are using two for loops, and first one you are going to get data, and then the second one for put data. Okay, right. So emp I dot get data function, emp I dot put data function. So here the array of objects represents storing the multiple object in a single name. Definitely, random names variables can be used for storing the data functions, and also you can reduce the memory space. Like before I told you, less memory. I mean, almost no memory has been allocated for that extra space. So you can reduce the time, you can reduce the memory by putting by storing the data in a single variable.
Okay.
Right. So this is yesterday's string class in C++, where we tend to represent sequence of characters as an object of the class. So here we would be getting just like inputting the data as well as the printing the data. We would be getting like single byte data character that we would be getting, and this string you can compare with the character array. Okay, so with a character array, it's actually an array of characters. So you will have like /n also for terminating, and a string is a class where you have objects. So this object can be represented as a stream of characters. Okay, so the size of the character you can allocate statically. You need not have to locate it dynamically, because dynamically if you try to locate, then definitely it is going to consume more space, your memory also. Okay, so in the case of the strings, but you can go for dynamic allocation of memory, because that is much more needed. Okay, so more memory can be allocated at execution time on demand. So since no memory has been allocated, definitely no memory is wasted. So you allocate memory only for the operations and not for the extra spaces. So this is character arrays in C++. Generally we would be having the inbuilt functions even, but still character arrays in itself, it doesn't have any inbuilt functions to manipulate the strings. So we pass external arguments like getLine, pushback, and then popback. Okay, so getLine is nothing but this a function which is going to store a stream of characters. Okay, so enter a stream of characters. So getLine means some input from the user, just entering the some streamline characters, and then push back, you are going to input a character. Okay, so you are going to get the character at the end of the string, and then pop back. Pop means something you delete it. Okay, so pop means it's going to delete it. So for C++ operations, you use this function to delete that last character in the string. For example, object oriented programming, then you input delete from G, N, I, and so on. So this is a C++ program to demonstrate the working of getLine, pushback, and popback. So here you include #include IOStream, #include string function. So you include this string function especially for the string class, and then you have using namespace std function, a driver code in main function. Then you try to declare the string. So string str, okay, and then you include this getLine. Okay, so it is getLine c input c in comma str. Then you try to output the string cout, the initial string is, and then cout, it is str. Now you try to enter a character. Okay, you insert a character str dot pushback. Okay, pushback of yes, and then you try to display the string. Okay, cout, the string after pushback operation is, try to display the string which is str, and then deleting a character. Deleting a character occurs only at the end of the string. Okay, so str dot popback. Okay, and then you display the string. The string after popback operation is, you display that string. Okay, and then you return 0. With the example you will understand better. Input is actually object oriented programming. So output you will get is initial string is object oriented programming. Okay, now string after pushback operation is object oriented programming. You insert a character called yes. So that's the reason object oriented programming, and then yes. And then after popback operation means you delete the character from the right. Okay, so object oriented programming, yes, that yes is actually deleted. So the string after popback operation is object oriented programming. So this is capacitive functions, where we have some parameters for capacitive functions. We have capacity, resize, length, and then shrink to fit. With capacity, the title, I mean the word itself tells you the meaning. Okay, so it is nothing but the capacity which is allocated to the string, which can be it can be equal or it can be more than equal than the size of the string. Okay, so here for the capacity, with the string functions, an additional space has been allocated so that you can maybe add some new characters if you want to. Okay, and then there is resize. So resize is nothing but resize the string. Okay, maybe you can increase the size or maybe you can decrease the size. And then you have length, which is going to find the length of the string, and then shrink to fit means it is going to reduce it to the actual size. Okay, so it is going to decrease the capacity of the string and makes it equal to the minimum size of the string. Okay, so the difference between capacity and this shrink to fit is that capacity it is allocating extra space, but shrink to fit it is going to save that additional space. Okay, so we make sure that there is no addition of characters, but capacity it has a provision. If you want to add characters, you can add the characters. Okay, so this is demonstrating the work of capacity, resize, length, and then string to fit. So you have hash include IO stream, hash include string, so just for the string class. So using namespace std function, and then you have a driver code. In main function you initialize the string. The string is actually string str is equal to object oriented programming is for OOP. Okay, it's object oriented programming, OOP. You display the string, so see out the initial string is, and you print the string str. Now here you use the resize function. Okay, str dot resize of 13. Okay, and then you display the string. Okay, see out the string after resize operation is
STR.
okay. You are going to print it out str. Okay, so and then you display the capacity of the string. See out the capacity of the string is, you are going to print the string capacity str dot capacity, and you display the length of the string. So it's actually the length of the string is, it is actually the str length, and here you are shrinking to fit. Okay, so you are decreasing the capacity of the string. So here you use str dot shrink underscore to underscore fit, and you display the string. The new capacity after shrinking is, it is actually the original capacity, which is str dot capacity, and then finally you return 0. So the initial string is actually object oriented programming is for OOP, and then string after resize operation we reduced it, so object oriented programming. So actually the capacity of the string, this string was actually 35, I mean sorry 36. Okay, and after this it became like 25, the length of the string. Okay, so the new capacity after shrinking, so after shrinking it became 28. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 20 21 22 23 24 25. So this was the length of the string. Okay, so after that is, okay, object oriented programming space and then is, that was being counted, it is 28. Okay, right. So similarly you can go with several functions as well, like begin, end, r begin, and then r end. Okay, so begin means forward beginning, like it is going to return an iterator to the beginning of the string. That r begin is actually reverse iterator pointing to the end of the string, and then you have end operation and then r end. So end is actually returning an iterator to the end of the string, and then r end is reverse operation of the end of the string. So here is a program to demonstrate the working of begin, r begin, end, and then r end. Okay, hash include IO stream using using namespace std. We use them, but before that you can include the string class hash include string. So that's a driver code in main function. You initialize the string. So just like the previous case, string str is equal to object oriented programming, and you declare the iterator. So here it is std string iterator it. You declare the reverse iterator. So this is the operation with the case of r begin and then r end. Okay, so here you go with see out the string using forward iterators is. So here you use a for loop. For it is equal to iterator equal to str dot begin, iterator not equal to str dot end, iterator plus plus. So see out, you are going to print the iterator it, and C out. Okay, and then you display the reverse string. Okay, so reverse string using reverse iterators is okay, and then we similarly with the case of the forward iterators, similarly for the reverse iterator also you have this one. For iterator 1 is equal to str dot r begin, iterator 1 not equal to str dot reverse end, iterator 1 plus plus, and you print the iterator 1, and then you go with C out return 0. So the string using forward iterator is, this is the output, object oriented programming, and reverse string is just reversing, GNIMAR, just reversing, it is printed. And then here you try to manipulate the functions. So it is copy character array len and post. Okay, so it's going to copy the substring in the target character mentioned in the arguments. So you have three arguments. One is character array, the length that has to be copied, and then starting position in the string to starting of that copying. So it is from here to here. And then you have swap operation. It is going to swap one string with another. So you have a C++ program to demonstrate the working of copy and then swap function. So hash include IO stream, hash include string function, and then using namespace std function. So you have a driver code, initialize the first string. String 1 is actually object oriented programming is for OOP, and then second string is actually object oriented programming rocks. Okay, and then you declare the character array, character ch of 80. So this is using the copy function to copy the elements into the character array, which is going to copy this object oriented programming. So you go with str1.copy ch, the size you are specifying it as 13. Okay, then 0, C out is equal to new copied character array is, okay, so you are printing that ch, that is the character array, and then you are displaying the strings before swapping. So the first string before swapping is, that's actually str1. So second string before swapping is that is str2. Then what you do, you try to swap to the string content. So str1 dot swap of str2. So you are going to swap str1 and str2. So this is after swapping. See out, the first string after swapping is, you are going with str1, and second string after swapping is str2, and then you return 0. So the output, the new copied character array is object oriented programming. The first string before swapping is, you remember for the case, object oriented programming is for OOP, and second string before swapping is object oriented programming rocks. Okay, now the first string and second string you are going to swap. So first string after swapping is that second string value you will get. So object oriented programming rocks, and second string after swapping is, you will get that first string. Object oriented programming is for OOP.